situation with the voices in your head. They said that love has shut the door on you, and you'd be better off instead. Girl, don't you listen? Your time is gonna come. You talk about lonely, you talk about scared. I think you're thinking that nobody cares. Well, you know it ain't over, but where to begin? You gotta play if you wanna win. Yeah. So when you gonna let somebody in? It's a classic situation where you don't know how to feel, so you go it alone. You turn off the phone when the struggle gets too real. Yeah. Girl, you better listen. It's time to make a change. You talk about lonely, you talk about scared. I think you're thinking that nobody cares. Well, you know it ain't over, but where to begin? You gotta play if you wanna win. So when you gonna let somebody in? Yeah, let 'em in. You talk about lonely, you talk about scared. I think you're thinking that nobody cares. Well, you know it ain't over, but where to begin? You gotta play if you wanna win. So when you gonna let somebody in? Let 'em in. You had another rough conversation with the voices in your head. They said that love has shut the door on you, and you'd be better off instead. Girl, don't you listen? Your time is gonna come. You talk about lonely, you talk about scared. I think you're thinking that nobody cares. Well, you know it ain't over, but where to begin? You gotta play if you wanna win. Yeah. So when you gonna let somebody in? It's a classic situation where you don't know how to feel, so you go it alone. You turn off the phone when the struggle gets too real. Yeah. Girl, you better listen. It's time to make a change. You talk about lonely, you talk about scared. I think you're thinking that nobody cares. Well, you know it ain't over, but where to begin? You gotta play if you wanna win.
we're giving the community what the stylists don't want to do anymore. Stylists don't want to shampoo. We're even partnering with stylists. They're saying, hey, I don't have the time to shampoo, so won't you go over to the shampoo bar? We're doing steam treatments, taking braids down, locks. So you come in, we're gonna shampoo, condition, put pomade, hair growth, stimulating growth, and we're gonna actually manipulate those beards. And if y'all have bundles and units, bring those in. We will bring them back to life. You drop off, we call you, you pick up. Just like a dry cleaner. We have 2 complimentary drinks. One is called the Tide. The next drink is called the Old Fashioned. And we're not going to tell you what's in any of these drinks. They are exclusive to the shampoo bar. I'm not telling you, okay? So go to our website. Shampoo bar, NLR.
Good evening. Good evening. Happy Tuesday evening, broadcasting from the B-Level Entertainment Studio. I'm your host, B-Level. Tonight, I've got a special show planned for you. I've got some friends along with me, and we're going to have a special edition of the Unpacking the Baggage podcast. Tonight, we are talking high school sports conversation. I've got a couple of professionals, a couple of my great friends that's going to be along for the conversation. I want to welcome to the platform Cal Sutherland of hogbeat.com. And also, I want to welcome Kris Boyd with Arkansas Prep Sport. How you guys doing today?
Fantastic. Glad to be here, man.
Good B-Level. Thanks for having me on, brother.
Hey, listen, man, I want to say that last week, the reason why we're having this conversation, I was rattling off last week, Cal. I was going to one of my rants and had some a live that I did that has probably about a year-old frustration with a school. My daughter team, everybody knows I have a daughter that plays for Pulaski Academy. And had a situation that happened with her team in one of the competing teams, Nashville High School, and had some stuff that was said by the AD on air that was a year old about us recruiting and a whole bunch. And I held it in for a year. And finally exploded, did this live. I had so many people jump in my inbox saying that I needed to do an episode on transferring and recruiting. And because that stuff could get very difficult, they wanted us to have a platform where people can get some information on the right way to transfer, which if you guys are on this, I need you guys to share this live. We're going to talk about transfers. We're going to dive into recruiting. And then at the end, I want to give some helpful information to parents. If you are thinking about transferring to another school, we want you to do it the right way. So I've got Kris Boyd, who he's with Prep Sports, Arkansas Prep Sports, but he's also an attorney in real life. And so he can dive through these confusing AAA rules about moving, about domicile, about the bona fide move. We're going to dive deep into that at the end of this conversation, because there's a lot of parents that want to do it, and we want you to have the right information. So I want to first do an opening statement, which I always do, and then we'll dive into our conversation. Is that fair? You guys cool with that?
Absolutely.
Works for me.
All right, here we go. Here's my opening statement on our conversation tonight. All right, okay. High school sports used to be very simple. All right. You play for the school in your neighborhood. The coach taught you discipline, and the community rallied around Friday nights and packed gyms. But today, the landscape is changing. We're seeing more transfer than ever. Parents are moving kids to different schools. Some people say it's about opportunities. Others say it's about chasing wins. There are whispers about recruiting, about influence, about whether the system is being manipulated. But the big question is, who is this really about? Is it about the kids and giving them the best chance to succeed, or are adults turning high school sports into something it was never meant to be? Tonight, we're talking about it. Transfers, recruiting rumors, the role of coaches, parents, and Arkansas activity associations. What's ethical, what's not, and where high school sports may be headed. And I've got two people who see world from different angles every step of the way. I want to welcome to the UTB platform Cal Sutherland of hogbeat.com and Kris Boyd of Arkansas Prep Sports. So I just, guys, I want to dive into the first thing that I think everybody is wanting to hear, and get you guys' opinion on high school athletes transferring. We've got kids that are transferring from, town to town. We've got kids that's transferring from public school to public school. We got kids that are transferring from public school to private school. And I want to start with you, Cal, because I think, Cal, you're a lot like me. I heard your live when you were talking about the Barton in England and how you went on record saying that you didn't think that neither one of those teams deserve to compete for state champion in the 2A. And I agree with you. Those coaches, I don't know if England came on, but you did have a conversation with the Barton coach, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, England has not spoken to me. I can't imagine why.
But you made your opinion very known, and I appreciate your opinion. I so respect what you do because what we do as journalists sometimes is not popular.
Yep.
I do want to get your opinion first about, is high school sports and transferring the new transfer portal? Is that basically what it is?
Unofficially, I think that's very fair to say. I think, Chris, and you can chime in on this, I think that kind of really got it started. It's been around for a little bit now, but I think when we did our first football media days, that's when it really came, because you heard coaches up at the podium saying it. And so people started thinking, oh, well, there is a high school transfer portal. Well, there's not like an actual one. It's just a hypothetical type thing, just because of the way that things are. So, yeah, I mean, I think it has kind of become the new wave. Not kind of, it has. And I think that you just look around and look, I'm old school. I graduated high school almost 20 years ago. And like you talked about at the top, I've always been one of those that you play where you go. Mm-hmm. I mean, I look back at CAC, and we had just about all of my teammates, many of whom I still talk to, and most of us were there at least since 7th grade. Now, we did have two key guys that did transfer in. Probably know their names, DJ Williams and Joe Adams. Now, DJ was a year older than me. Obviously, everybody knows his story. Him and his family, they escaped a terrible situation in Texas for a new life in Little Rock. So that's one of those exceptions to where it's like, okay, I get it. Like, you can totally understand that. Joe Adams came over from Parkview Joe was my age. DJ was a year older. And Joe came around 2 days of our junior year. You imagine if that would have happened now in a social, like back then we had Facebook and Fearless Friday. That was it. Joe Parkview wasn't in a great spot at that time, and he was looking for better opportunities, knowing that he was going to be a big time prospect. And so I say that to say, it's not like it's a new thing. It was happening back then, maybe just not as much. I don't even know if I would say as much prevalence necessarily. You just didn't see it as much because Twitter didn't exist. Instagram didn't exist. You didn't have these guys and girls making graphics, going to a new school. But now, since the transfer portal in college has been invented, that's kind of what it has trickled down to in high school, just from an unofficial level.
Yeah. Chris, do you agree with Cal? I mean, what's your standing on that? What's your opinion on that?
Well, first, let me say, Brian and Kyle, I'm like you, Brian. I grew up public school kid. I grew up in Blytheville, transferred to Greene County. Well, we moved. My family moved, went to Greene County Tech for high school. But this is an unpopular opinion. I think kids should be able to go wherever they want to go. I don't really care. Kids transfer to Central for their honors program because it's fantastic, right? Kids transfer, y'all might laugh, but this is true. Kids transfer to Bentonville High School to compete in their marching band. Their marching band is ranked top 10 in the nation. They go all over the place and compete nationally. So if kids can freely transfer wherever they want to for education, if kids can freely transfer wherever they want to for band, why can't they freely transfer wherever they want to for athletics? And I think, Kyle is right. There are several factors that really, when we were growing up, kids transferred, but it wasn't as public. I also don't think the number really hit the roof until we had school choice in Arkansas. So school choice lets you go wherever you want to go. there's some guidelines, right? You have to file an application that has to be done before May the 1st. But you can go to how the Arkansas State Legislature defines it as a non-resident school. So you don't have to live in that school district. Now, certain things you have to do. You have to apply. You have to do certain things. But you can't be denied basically unless the school doesn't have room for you, or if they're going to go over a certain student to teacher ratio. But when that school choice happened, that opened the floodgates. And it just happened to be, just like Kyle said, perfect timing with the college transfer portal. So these high school kids see college kids transferring all over the place, and they think, hey, that must be the thing to do. If people are transferring from, Kentucky to Arkansas or Texas A&M or whatever the case may be to better themselves, then I should be able to do the same thing. So I really think it was that school choice coupled with around the same time as the college transfer portal that just really opened the floodgates. And kids, like Kyle said, kids used to transfer. It was just kind of in the shadows. Nobody really knew about it. Now kids post it on Twitter. I'm transferring from one school to another.
And I agree with you too. I think a kid should be able to play wherever they want to play. I share that opinion with you. But let me ask both of you guys a question. When people say it's about the kid, but at what point does it become about building super teams, right? Does that make sports competitive if, because a coach is really popular, right? Because this coach is better, or because I want to go and play along, if you're over at Parkview and I'm over at Central and I want to go play with Cal, at what point does it become about building super teams rather than, the betterment for the kids? I know that you talked about, and I agree. I'm going to go on record and say, I think a child should be able to play, but at what point does it become unfair? Where you look up and all of the kids are at one school. People are really pissed off about the Earl situation. They're 1A. A lot of kids went over there. I know Steve Jefferson, great friend of mine. Earl dominated 1A. Is that really, really fair that Steve Jefferson, because he's he's a good-looking guy? I don't know if he's good-looking. I don't know. But is that really fair that all of the kids can go to Earl and have a hands-down championship now, fellas? Kyle, is that fair?
Well, I think, the thing is, it all goes back to, are you doing it the right way? And I think my deal, here's my whole thing with it. I agree with you guys. Now, if you would have asked me this 3 or 4 years ago, I would have said, no, this is not the way, it shouldn't be like this, but I've adapted. And look, because here's the deal is, I used to cover high school sports full-time. Now I cover the Razorbacks full-time. About this time last year, I decided that I was going to do a better, that's ultimately my goal, was to cover the Razorbacks. And so I took an opportunity that was better for me, that I felt was better from a financial standpoint for my family. So who am I to tell, parents or a kid that they can't do what's best for them? I think one of the things, probably the biggest opportunity that we have as parents, that we have as coaches, is to educate the kids on this, because there are the cases where the coach, like you said, some coaches, they just want to form, and I'm not just talking about in Arkansas, I'm talking about all over the place. Right. Sometimes the coaches do just have their interest at heart and they want to form these super teams. The parent might have their specific and maybe living through their kids thinking what's best for, their kid, but it might not be. So I think really more than anything, you got to sit down with these kids. Like, for instance, let's say you're wanting to transfer to this school. The coach needs to sit down and say, okay, here's what we expect here. Here's what you're going to be demanded. Is this for you? We've seen kids go places and they come right back to where they were because they can't live up to the expectations of that program. So I think that's where kids really get hurt, is we don't sit down enough and really educate them and talk. They just see, okay, well, you're on a team with all these other guys or girls that are really good, and we can win a state championship. Well, what is the other underlying factors? That is this the best school for you academic? Like Kris said, right. With going to Bentonville for marching band or something. Well, from an academic standpoint, is this the best opportunity? Is coming here going to be the best opportunity for you to get to the next level? So all in all, I'm with you guys. I think that kids should be able to go where I have adapted. It's not how I used to think, like I said, but I am that way now. I think that they should be able to, but we just need to do a better job in the bigger picture instead of, let's go ahead and get your paperwork ready and you come over here, and actually educating them, and also the parents educating themselves as well, to just make sure that their kid is in the right position.
What do you say about that, Boyd? At what point in time does it become about building super teams?
Yeah, that doesn't bother me, Brian. If kids want to play together, we see it a lot, and we see it all over the state. It's not just look. I'm gonna throw a few just names out there. These teams aren't recruiting. These teams aren't doing anything. But it's not just about going to Central or Parkview. We see it in small towns. We see boys and girls who have grown up together playing AAU from all over the place, and they get to high school and they're like, you know what? Let's continue to play together. So let's just all go to this school. We can because of school choice. So let's just do it. And that doesn't have anything to do with a coach going out and recruiting. That's kids getting together and saying, hey, we played together in AAU. It's a lot of fun. You're my best friend. Let's keep doing it. I have no problem with it. And we see it all over the state. I really don't. I don't have a problem with it at all.
For those of you who are just tuning in, I'm talking with Kyle Sutherland of hogbeat.com and Kris Boyd. We're talking about transferring now. Put your comments, put your questions in our comment section. And if we have time, I'll try to dive through. I'm going to dive through some of these. Jermaine Streets is saying, I'm with Kris. Kimberly Johnson is saying, my only regret is not transferring my child sooner. Kimberly Johnson is also saying Steven Jefferson will go over and beyond for these girls. He does a bunch of things behind the scene for them. First priority was getting them to a college home. So
I agree with that, Brian.
Yeah.
Steve does a good job of getting these girls.
I do too. Yeah, I do too.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So let's talk about when you make a transfer. These coaches, these ADs are calling AAA, bugging it down, making it difficult. To my understanding, and I'm guessing on this, but I feel like I have AAA is letting a lot of this transfer be handled with the AD until a parent or a coach calls them and puts light on that. Is that, Kris, is that how it normally, if you want to go to Parkview and you're within right, typically, do you suggest that a kid, well, I guess he can't because that'll be recruiting, but they are leaving a lot of those recruiting rules to the ADs until someone calls AAA and then there's an investigation, right? Is that your understanding of how it goes, Cal? I mean, are they leaving those decisions to the AD?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I've seen, ADs and soups hold kids hostage before. I mean, obviously I'm not going to say any specific situations.
right.
I have heard just in the last year, I can think of 3 off the top of my head. How
is that fair? Do you guys,
it's not fair. Not fair whatsoever. Not fair. No. None whatsoever.
So what I hear you guys saying is if a kid decides to want to go a place across town, as long as they follow the rules, which we're going to get into the rules, coaches, ADs are saying that it's about the kids, but then they want to stop a kid from competing where that kid feels like he's better in competition. And that kind of pissed me off. I mean, that really upset me when I hear coaches, ADs calling AAA because a kid decides that they no longer want to play for this team and they want to go across town. I mean, what's your opinion on that, Boyd?
It drives me crazy. I hear, of course it's all rumors, but I hear, but probably 90% of it's true of head coaches calling them AAA or somehow anonymously so their name doesn't get brought up. So-and-so transfers here. Well, now all of a sudden the second kid, well, I'm gonna report them because that can't be legal. That's there. And a lot of people are making assumptions. And usually you see it intra-conference, right? It's coach at school A in 5A conference, calling the AAA on coach at school B in 5A conference. And it drives me crazy because if that coach who's now ratting out a different school, even though everything may be on the up and up, Brian, if those 2 same kids want to transfer to their school, they'd welcome them with open arms. But because they're going to a conference rival, they're going to report it, even if they don't know that something was done the wrong way.
Yeah. What about this? What about why does AAA treat private schools differently than they do public schools? Right. Cal, you went to CAC, right? Why does AAA feel like private schools have an advantage, Cal?
Well, the thing is about that is, it's the board of directors that don't direct. It's superintendents from other schools, that set these rules, and then that's what the AAA. Now, does that mean, behind the scenes, I don't know anything about what happens there, but but as far as like how it's supposed to go is there's superintendents that vote on these rules, and like for instance, the competitive equity factor, it's a complete joke if you ask me, but that was put into place, and that's, to me, like for instance, when Bunch Nichols said this was a 7A school against you guys with PA last year. Okay, yeah, they might be a 7A school by football standards because they won and they got those points, just like with Little Rock Christian. I mean, basically, sometimes, and I'm not saying that teams ever do this, but it's almost like kind of an ongoing joke with private schools. Well, they lost in the first round of regional. They lost in the first round of the state tournament because if they get one more point, then they're going to move up a class and things just aren't going to go well. And you look at Shiloh Christian, every time they've moved up, things have worked really well for them. PA, you saw in the first year they moved up to the first couple of years they moved up to 6A. It was fine. First year in 7A, they go to the semifinal round. And then this year, it just didn't go so well. They had their worst season in 25 years or whatever it was. So I don't necessarily think it's the AAA per se that has it. I think that maybe it's just the ones that maybe and I'm just saying it, I think maybe there's somebody within the board of directors. I don't know exactly how that worked, but I think that it was more than anything just pressure to. But I don't know that it's necessarily to put private schools in their own league, because that's just not feasible in right. Arkansas. It's not Texas or anything like that. But, as a private school kid, I will say growing up that I kind of felt like that there were some that were against us. There were people right. that, there were these private or these public schools in our conference that would, talk about how we were soft and just talk crap about us all week. We'd go out there and kick their ass and they weren't really saying that afterwards. Right. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely those that are against that, but I think that the competitive equity factor, there has to be something done about that, because I mean, it's going to eventually, you got a roster with PA. Chris, I can't remember. I should know this because I called their games, but what did PA have? 35, 40. I can't remember their roster number, but it was definitely not. You got and I'm not trying to single out I'm just saying you got a school like Bryant that they bring defensive linemen. They'll bring the second group of defensive linemen in, and you don't really see a whole lot of change. Whereas PA is a school that just doesn't have that luxury, and they should, and they're not supposed to, because they're not legitimately a 7A school. So and I mean, it's not just Brian. I mean, Conway's got multiple dudes on both sides of the line. You could point, and then you could go look at the 7A West as well. So I just think that it is really putting kids in a bad position. And then people are going to come back and say, like what I was saying a second ago, what about Shiloh Christian? They won a state championship in 6A. They dethroned Greenwood, who was on 37 game win streak. So that was a long-winded way of answering your question, but yeah. I think that right now, yes, there are plenty of people who, they're trying to punish private schools just because they simply don't like them. Right. I don't necessarily know that it's the AAA, maybe just some of those people that vote those rules into place.
Yeah, and then the way they do the point system, right? I mean, right. Chris, do you understand the point system? If you complete, so they have private schools on the point because they feel like you have an unfair advantage, right? So if you finish so many times at the end, you get points, and that's why they move you up as it relates to our PA girls. They're going to go because they've went to the finals 2 years in a row. Now they're going to be in 5A. The boys team is going to stay down in 4A. Mm-hmm. So how afflicted is that for now? So when we go to play Little Rock Christian, our boys are not going to go with us. So now Little Rock Christian has to find a non-conference game when we go play them. I mean, this is getting out of hand. How does this continue to do? How do you continue to go that way?
Well, I'm with Kyle. I think the competitive equity rule is just asinine. I think it's completely asinine. I think there's already enough that they put on, private schools to quote unquote make it level. Even though I'm going to point out a few examples. You guys know Sophia played at PA. She was a senior last year. When she was a sophomore, Brian and Kyle, PA started off 0-14 and finished under 500. And then the very next year, same kids, One kid started playing who had been at PA all her life and was a soccer player. One kid played basketball. We get a new coach, and we go 36-1. Now, we'd already scored enough points in that one season, Brian, without winning a state championship to be moved up to 5A.
Right.
How is that a quote-unquote legacy program when less than 2 years ago they started off 0-14, 0-14, and finished under 500? I just think the competitive equity rule it's just asinine, and it's almost impossible to move back down. And then, just like you said, Brian, it puts such a burden on these head coaches. Now, PA boys and girls are going to be playing in different conferences. Little Rock Christian's dealt with that before as well. And I think there's another school out there that has dealt with it, but I'm not.
And they only do that for private schools.
Example.
Yeah.
Harding Academy Harding Academy in football, they've won a Class B back in the day. They've won a Class A. They've won 2A championship. They've won 3A. They've won 4A championships. And then they get to 5A, and it's just like, I mean, it's basically just move them up until they just can't win anymore. And and back to Shiloh. Shiloh is about the only, and Little Rock Christian had a good season last year in 7A. Right. But I mean, it's just, you're starting to see, and then after Conway Christian won the state championship in 2A, so it's just, it's basically, it's just like, okay, let's just move them up until they can't win it. That's just kind of what it seems like it is for me. It's just keep moving them up until they can't do it anymore. Just basically stop them from winning.
Okay, I got two more things because I know Cal got to jump off, Chris, and then we'll get into, recruiting. All right. We hear so much about recruiting. If you are a coach and you have a conversation with a kid about coming, Chris, is that defined recruiting per AAA standards?
So in the handbook, no coach can have any contact with a prospective student anyway. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you threw that up there, Brian, because most people don't realize that the AAA actually defines recruiting. Just check it out right there in Rule 5B. The use of undue influence and or special inducement by anyone connected directly or indirectly with a AAA member school in an attempt to encourage, induce, pressure, urge, or entice a prospective student of any age to transfer or to retain a student at a school for the purpose of participating in interscholastic activities. Now, what I also want to point out is you look at E, a coach may not contact, and this is what parents don't realize, or be contacted by a student or the student's parents. So the AAA even considers that recruiting if a student parent or a student reaches out to the coach. So the coach doesn't even have to do anything. If the student or the student's parents reach out, they consider that illegal as well. The other thing I wanted to point out and look at that, let's see, where's that on your screen? There is a
is that what you're looking for there?
Let's see, go back. Yeah, right there, Brian. Okay. Go back to the other page you just had, Brian. Let me scroll down. I'm sorry, I don't remember this.
No, you can take your time.
Okay, look at number 11 right there. Offer or acceptance of a privilege not afforded to other students. So that can be anything, okay? So a prospective student goes to CAC, Kyle, and sets up a tour to tour the campus, and they can shadow a student, and they can set that up, and they can do that, and that's just fine. But if a football player does the same thing to CAC, and CAC says, okay, well, let's take that football player, and we're going to walk them through the field house, and we're going to have a jersey with their name on it. We're going to put them up on the Jumbotron. Well, guess what? Now you're doing things that you didn't do for that other non-athlete student, which can be considered recruiting.
Wow.
That's what a school got in trouble for not too long ago. I'm not going to mention the school, but they made a big deal and even posted all over social media, which was wild. But they put the kid up on the Jumbotron. They did almost a little parade for the kid, had a jersey with the kid's name on it. So if they're saying that you can move through school choice,
they're saying that the coach or anybody from the school, you can't have any contact with that person.
That's correct.
So you're saying that the kid can move, but he can't talk to the coach about, hey, do you have 5 guards? Is it in my best interest to move? So
Which
he
is
has
kind
to
of
figure,
wild, isn't it?
yeah, he and his parents has to figure that out by themselves. They can't have any contact to the school they're going to, but you can move. How fair is that, guys?
Well, I mean, it's that goes back to I can understand if you're it's Chris. I know exactly where you're talking about. As far as like putting them up on the jumbotron and everything. I think that there's obviously a difference in touring a school. For like if you're going for academics or something like that. You're just kind of shadowing or something like that. We used to have people that come and shadow. As a student at CAC. Back when I was there and everything. But I think that's where I kind of draw because. I understand if a kid wants to search out other options, but I do know for a fact that there are coaches. And again, I'm talking about, I've heard stuff from different states. I want to make sure and throw that out there. It has in Arkansas, but there are plenty of places where coaches just call a kid or calls a parent, if they have like a previous history with them or something like that. And they'll call them and say, hey, we've got a spot for you here. We need this, we need this position or whatever. Like, this is where we're a little bit down. That's where I don't have a problem. I agree with the original point here. Kids should be able to go where but I don't believe that coaches should just be able to call kids and be like, hey, you come to my school. I put myself in because I know that I personally, and I know that it's easy for me to say that because I'm not a coach, and it's a cutthroat world out there, even in high school. But I just don't think that coaches should be calling kids and saying, hey, like, you need to come. If the kid has that interest and then they want to go shadow at that school or whatever, that's one thing. But I don't think that coaches should just be calling kids and being like, hey, you come play for me.
So Kyle, I agree with you. The issue I have is, why can't the kid contact the coach?
That's what I'm fine with.
Questions.
Yep, I'm fine with that. I'm fine and that's kind of what my original point earlier is if a kid wants, if that's what their desire is, if the parent is sitting down and saying, hey, or even if the kid sits their parents down and says, hey, there's this going on with this coach right now, it's just not really meshing with us. And you don't want to just like up and leave just because things are hard. I think that's one thing that, doesn't get talked about enough too, is, just, they may get yelled at, like the coach might be too hard on them or something like that, or just like me, a tough situation. But yes, I am for kids being able to reach out. I just don't think that it should be the other way around. I do think though that if a kid wants another if they want an opportunity and they feel like that they can be better suited, then I mean, look, I'll point one out. TJ Hodge is now playing for the Razorbacks. He was playing at Mark Tree. He was getting recruited nonetheless, but from colleges. I'm gonna make that clear. Getting recruited nonetheless from Oregon, from Arkansas, from all these places. But he wanted to see better competition. I don't blame him for that. He wanted to go play in Class 7A because he was going to be playing in the SEC, or he was going to be playing at a Power 4 level. Like and TJ, look, I mean, I've interviewed him multiple times. He's a very sharp kid. He knew what he wanted. So I can totally understand something like that. You're going to play at a big level. You want to go play against the best of the best in your state. I have no issue with that whatsoever. So situations like that, yeah, Chris, I'm exactly with you on that. I just don't think that a coach should pull up Max Preps and look at the stats or pull up film and say, oh man, like this kid from so-and-so looks really good. I'm going to reach out to his parents or whomever it may be, his guardian, whatever. And then go with that route. But if a kid sees a school or a team or a coach that they like, man, that might be a really good opportunity for me, I think that should be totally fair game.
Right. I've got Coach Stephen Jefferson on here saying the kids are calling each other.
That is accurate as well.
100%. Yeah. We 100% understand that. Well, Kyle, I told you that I would get you out of here. You had some obligations. I really, really appreciate you giving me 30, 40 minutes of your time. Chris and I are going to stay on. We're going to talk through some more stuff. We've got going to hammer through the legal part of transferring and all of those things. And so, listen, man, you don't have to leave, but I know that you had to leave. So I want to thank you for giving us your opinion on this difficult, situation. I just want to thank you for giving us 30, 40 minutes of your time, man. And do you have any last thoughts before you get out of here that you want to go out on?
No, I appreciate you having me, and man, yeah, it's been fun. I definitely, most times I usually do have an hour or more. It's just right now
Yeah.
tonight, man, right now is the craziest time of the year for me. So I'm glad I was able to hop on with you guys for a bit. No, I'm glad you're doing this. I think that it needs we as media, coaches, everybody sit down, because all in all, everybody wants to make this better for the kids, and also
Yes.
just for the school, just for athletics in general.
Yes.
So I'm glad that you guys are doing this, and I think it's an incredible conversation, though it can get heated at times.
Yes.
I appreciate the fact that you're doing this.
All right. Well, appreciate you, man. And Chris and I, if you'll go ahead, and Chris and I will finish this conversation.
All right, guys. Y'all take care.
All
Take
right.
care, Kyle.
For those of you guys just tuning in, I am talking with Chris Boyd, Arkansas Prop Sports. Hey, listen, we're going to open the request line at the end. If you want to call maybe at the end and give us your experience, I might take a couple of calls. Not going to make it be too long. You're going to have 2 minutes. Chris, let's talk about something that had happened that I saw on social media that happened in the 6A over at Central last week. This was all over social media. Okay. They had a kid, and let me make sure. I thought I wrote it. Jaden Slaughter, that was a 6A kid, a transfer from Parkview, went over to Central, and something happened the week after the semifinals. To my understanding, there was something with the kid was caught vaping or something, and the coach dressed him out. The coach brought him over to Hot Springs, but the coach did not play him. Okay, so the coach decided to punish him the week of the championship. This guy was a senior. And let me just say, I'm finding out bits and pieces, and so all of this stuff that I'm saying is alleged. I don't know that this is 100% true, and I'll start off by saying that. But in my investigation, here's kind of what I found out: that this was not his first time being caught vaping. Kid had a lot of issues. The coach knew about it, but the coach dressed him out, took him to Hot Springs. The parents, the aunts, the uncles, all of those people bought tickets. And he picked the last senior game of this kid to discipline him. So I'm going to go first because it's my platform. I don't know all of the intricate details, but from what I do know, I think he might have traumatized this kid, because now this kid, you dress him out. Obviously, I just feel like there was some other things, even though I am not the coach. I'm not the coach of Central's boys basketball team. I thought that maybe there were some other ways that he could have punished the kid, right? I mean, he could have made the kids do 1 million suicides or 1 million burpees. But to take a kid over to Hot Springs, sit him there, I mean, I just felt like there was a really, really cruel way, an unfair way to that will be lasting memories for these kids. Now, I understand the kids are going to be kids, and hell, I mean, my son has got into it vaping, and vaping is the end thing with these kids. Even I'm not condoning it and saying it's right, but he takes this kid over, and it sets the internet on fire. That's all people were talking about. It's one of the reasons why Central lost. They didn't play one of their better kids. What's your opinion on that? Do you have an opinion on that?
I know you don't want someone to come on your show and be a fence rider. But I'm going to ride the fence here, Brian. I'm going to ride the fence because I don't know all the facts, right?
Yeah.
Officially, what I heard was that the kid violated the team rule.
Right.
Okay? Was that the first time he violated team rule? Was that the second? Was that the 10th?
Yeah.
Had the coach discussed this with the player beforehand?
Right.
I'm throwing hypotheticals out there.
Right.
If the coach has discussed this with the player before, and we've already had strike 3, and the coach says, "Look, son, if you do this again, I'm not going to play you."
Yeah.
It's not just your future I'm looking after, but I also have 14 other kids on this roster
Yeah.
that I'm setting precedent for.
I see that.
Future,
I see
right?
that. Yeah.
So, but if this is strike one, boy, that's a harsh punishment for strike one, isn't it, Brian?
Right. Well, I mean, in my
state
investigation, I heard it
game
was
your
not
senior
strike
year,
one.
right?
I mean, I heard it wasn't strike one. So, to your theory, I mean, maybe that was, hey, I told you if you get caught again, this would be your punishment. And none of us know that. None of us know
We
if
don't
he
know.
had that
We don't know.
conversation. But
It's-
damn, Chris,
Brian,
I mean, it is
it's a
his senior
tough
game.
It's a
He will
tough
never play
punishment.
high school sports again.
Man, it's tough. That's tough.
That's
That's tough, man.
that is tough.
But again, we really don't know.
Right, we don't. That's tough. I mean, it was so many people mad. People were calling to fire the coach. Now, obviously, I don't want you to fire the coach. I just think, man, that is a hard lesson to learn. That is lasting. That will forever. And maybe some people feel like you gotta to do hard lessons for hard offense.
Mm-hmm.
You got to teach him a lesson, and he will remember that all through his college days. This kid is pretty good. He's probably gonna go to college. Man, that is.
And to your point, not just him, but the 14 other players on the team.
Yeah.
We know now that if coach says something, we better follow it, because if he doesn't play Jaden Slaughter in the state championship game,
Yes.
what's he going to do to me?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Whew, that was tough. All right. So Chris, let's get into if someone is
let's
trying
dive
to
into it.
Yeah. If someone is trying to transfer, I want you to go through and I want you to explain this school choice thing. At the end, I'm going to take a couple of phone calls for you guys who are listening. Please share this live. If you're planning to move, please listen in. We want you to move right. We want you to be in a situation where you can move and not have any issues with your move. So explain, Chris, this, what am I saying? This school choice. What is school choice? What does that mean, Chris?
So school choice means that you can transfer to any non-resident school that you want to. Now, school choice doesn't have anything. That is a statute that our legislature has enacted. It does not have anything to do with athletics, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let me make that clear. It doesn't have anything to do with athletics. But the legislature has enacted that certain things you have to do. There's an application process, no earlier than January 1st, no later than May the 1st. You have to go through that process, but you can go to whatever school you want to go. And, you know, the transfer rules with the AAA, they seem to slightly modify even on a year-to-year basis, okay? Things will happen, the AAA will see it, and they'll be like, okay, we got to address this because our rules don't directly address it. There are certain things in the rules that even now that I bet that we see something for the new handbook that comes out for 2026, 2027 that weren't even addressed in 2025 to 2026. But when school choice came out, about a year later, the AAA even put a provision in their domicile rules from a public school to public school transfer that says if you make a school choice transfer.
Is that what you're talking about, Chris? No?
Yep, right there. Take a look at that Rule 1A3, Brian. A student shall also meet the domicile requirement if the student receives a transfer, school choice, or board to board from one school to another. Transfers must take place by June 1st before the student enters grades through 10 and requires that this CSAT form has to be completed and filed with the receiving school. So what that means is, Brian, is before June 1st of your 10th grade year, if you are doing a school choice transfer from any public school to another public school, you are completely eligible. You do not have to sit out. It's not like the old rules where you had, even if you were transferring from a public school to a public school, you had to do a bona fide move from that public school district to the new district, right?
Okay.
You want to transfer from Searcy to Sylvan Hills, you had to have a bona fide move.
Yeah.
You don't have to anymore. Now, go back to that rule, Brian. I'm going to point out something that's really big. Go back to the one that says domicile at the top.
Okay, domicile right here.
Keep going. Keep going.
There you go.
That's it right there. So take a look again at that 1A3. Notice it says transfers must take place by June 1st before a student enters grades 7 through 10. So after June 1st of your 10th grade year, if you transfer, you're going to sit out. So if you're a junior going into your senior year and you want to transfer, this doesn't cover you. You're going to
So
sit
they
out.
have to be between 7th and 10th grade, and that's the grade that you're going to the following year, the next year rather. Right? If I'm going to be a 10th grader next year, I can still move for school choice. If I'm going to be a junior, this does not apply to me.
That's right. Take a look at that rule 1A4. Students transferring after June 1st prior to grade 7 through 12 shall not be eligible for the current school year unless there's a bona fide move from one school district into a public school district that the students will be attending.
All right, so explain bona fide move since we're there. What is the definition of a bona fide move?
So a bona fide move is, I've got it right over here. Under the domicile rule, a complete and total bona fide change of domicile, a move in good faith. What does that mean?
What does a move
Shall occur when a student's parents abandons their former home as a domicile and makes a permanent move into a home that is their sole domicile. That's the AAA's definition of a bona fide move.
Well, hell, you got to simplify that, Chris, because what does domicile means?
So there's all kinds of even examples that we've seen in the past, right? You sell your house and you buy a new one. You sign a lease on an apartment showing that you've moved. You've got utility bills in a new address. This one's wild to me, Brian. If you haven't sold your house at your old domicile, you have a realtor for sale sign in the yard showing you're actively trying to sell the house. So there's all kinds of these wild examples that the AAA will look at to try to figure out if a student athlete's parents have made a bona fide move in good faith or not.
And so we're talking about all these rules. This is public to public. Is it different when it's public to private?
Very different. So school choice doesn't apply to private schools, right? A private school falls outside of the Arkansas state legislature because private schools do not receive any, state money, right? They're not receiving property tax revenue. They're not getting any money from the state of Arkansas. We're talking about Arkansas here. So
right, like
Kyle went to CAC. CAC doesn't get that same public school money that North Little Rock does. Right. So CAC doesn't have to follow necessarily the same guidelines. School choice does not apply there. So the AAA has a completely separate domicile rule for what they call, and they don't call them private, they call them non-public schools.
Okay.
And if you'll throw that one up there, we'll run through that one as well. It's under that same domicile.
Is that this one right here?
Brian.
Is that the one you want?
Go back to the same one that just says domicile at the top. Right there. So you see at the bottom, you see the B, non-public schools?
Yes.
So let's take a look at this one. Rule 1B1, students who enroll at a non-public school, that's what they call a private school, must do so by June 1st before entering grades 7 through 10 to be immediately eligible. Okay. Students enrolling in a non-public school after the period provided for immediate eligibility above shall be ineligible for 365 days. So if you transfer to a private school before June 1st of your 10th grade year, you're okay. Okay. You're all right.
Okay.
But if you transfer after that, you're going to be ineligible no matter what. There's no school choice. There's no nothing unless, and you see this, Rule 1B2, a student whose parents live outside of a 25-mile radius and make a bona fide move within a 25-mile radius of the non-public school also meets the domicile requirement for eligibility.
Okay, so you
in that situation, the parents,
you could live in Searcy move to Little Rock outside of June 1st, and you will be eligible. Did I say that right?
If you do it after June 1st, you're going to be eligible.
So again, parents, if you are going public to non-public schools, which is private schools for me, you can do that after June 1st. If you live in Heber Springs and you want to move to Little Rock, because private schools don't have an area. Is that right, Kris? Private schools don't have a.
That's where this whole 25-mile radius kind of generated from. You know, and I'm going to be honest here, Brian, and I get this point. That's a lot of public school administrators' complaints about private schools. Kind of falls on deaf ears now with school choice, but prior to school choice, you know, Brian, a lot of times they would say, well, I'm the superintendent of those school out, Russellville. Only kids that live in Russellville can go to school here.
Mm-hmm.
But the superintendent at Shiloh Christian, well, it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
Kids from all over Northwest Arkansas can go to Shiloh Christian. It doesn't really matter. They don't have to live in Shiloh Christian School District because that doesn't exist. You know, that was a reason. And I think there's a rational thought process behind that as to why they were setting some of these 25-mile radius, these transfer rules. I think there's actually some rational thought behind that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's rational thought behind the equity rule moving private schools up. I do think there is a rational thought process, though, for the whole 25 miles thing. And that's because private schools don't have a school district like public schools do.
Look at Steve. Coach Jefferson said, that's funny. So if I live in Earl and I move to Little Rock, I can go to Pulaski Academy.
Come on, Steve, let's go.
Come on, man. Yeah, you can come. You can come. Yeah. Yeah, come on. You can definitely come. Tell Jessica y'all are moving. We would love to have Journey in that backcourt. Okay. So here's what I want to do. Have we finished? Have we covered public to public? Have we covered public to private? Are there any other loopholes, Kris, that we did not cover that a kid can transfer as far as just transfer rules? Did we cover everything? Is there anything that you forgot or that we didn't mention?
You know, there's all kinds of loopholes, Brian. What the AAA handbook doesn't necessarily address, they started trying to address it a little bit last year. I think it will be addressed either this upcoming year or in a year or two. The AAA handbook refers to parents domicile, parents this, parents have to move. But what about kids whose parents are divorced? What about kids whose parents have true joint custody?
Mm-hmm.
What about kids who live with their grandparents and the grandparents may not be the official guardian? The AAA considers parents and guardians the same thing. But what about kids who live with the grandparents and the grandparents may not be the official guardian? What about kids whose parents were never married to begin with, Brian? So there's all of these weird situations that constantly arise that the AAA handbook doesn't really address at all in certain family situations.
Mm-hmm. So that's why it's different. This kid may get approved. This kid may not.
That's right.
Based on those certain circumstances that are not addressed.
That's right.
Wow.
And the AAA, I will say this. And when I say the AAA, Kyle talked about it before. The AAA does have a board of superintendents that meet, that come up with the rules that pass them. But the AAA does have specific employees that also, I'm going to word this very politically correct, Brian. They do have certain employees that a lot of times will tell/influence the board of superintendents on their decisions. They do, to give them credit, they do take it on a case-by-case basis, Brian. Not every case is different.
Okay.
They do take it on a case-by-case basis. What happens if a kid is at a school and is truly getting bullied at a school? People are fighting this kid. People are beating this kid up.
Right.
And, hey, we just want to get him in a better situation, or her. That happens.
Right.
If these families can produce enough evidence, and all that stays confidential, but if families can produce enough evidence, I've seen the AAA side on their side. So to give them credit, they take everything as a case-by-case basis.
Steve Jefferson is saying, and I think I can answer this, and what about coaches who change schools and have kids? Saw that happen last year. Kris, I would say that if Jefferson wants to come and get a job at Pulaski Academy, that Journey would be eligible to play.
Yep, let's do it. Steve, I think you
So
might. Yep. I think I saw where there's like a third grade math. I mean, a sixth grade math position open, Steve, if you just like someone over.
All right, listen, I want to take 3 calls because I told Kris that I'd get him out of here in an hour, and I'm over an hour. I want to take 3 calls. I want these calls to be under 2 minutes. If you want to call and ask a question, or you want to call and tell about a situation, 2 minutes is the limit. All right. I've put the number 501-650-9726. If you just want to give us your opinion about transferring, if you want to ask Kris Boyd a question, maybe he can answer it, maybe he can't. I'm going to limit it to 3 calls because I don't want to let this go forever. And the calls, you have to be able to explain it in 2 minutes. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to explain your situation or to tell your situation. Now is the time to call. 501-650-9726. I've got a million inboxes saying that you guys are going to call. Now is the time. I'm not going to keep it out there forever. If you call quickly, you can get on the air with us. Let me try to go through some more stuff that here's a response here. Somebody said, let the children play. The law allows parents to choose to go to a better school for a better academic experience, but we have rules that won't allow them to participate in extracurricular activities for 365 days. It's after the 10th grade year. That's unfair to children. That's somebody's opinion. His name is Zach Mitchell. That said this. All right, I'm trying to leave that phone. I'm not putting these comments up here because I'm trying to leave the phone number up if you would like to call 501-650-9726. I'm going to go through some other. Adrian also said the same thing happened a few years ago with Little Rock Christian and girls, where you were talking about one of them was in 4A, one of them was in the 5A. Kimberly Johnson said we had so many against us at Earl. Oh, I got a call here. Let me go ahead and put this up. Hold on. Here we go. All right. Unpacking the Baggage podcast. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hey, this is Jermaine Streets. I'm calling from Little Rock.
What you say, Streets?
How you doing, man? Y'all wanted to call this thing our show, man. It was good. And I hear a lot of people want to say a lot about recruiting public to private school. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Man, it ain't easy to get into a private school. Of course, following all the rules and the regulations. A lot of people say, schools are recruiting. I ain't never got recruited to PA. I follow all the rules and the regulations, but it ain't easy. It ain't like they say, they can everybody can go there. It ain't easy. I ain't saying it's hard, but I'm saying it's still steps that you have to go through other than public to public. And you can boom, they won't tell on you on public to public. Not on all of them, but private, man.
Well, Streets, from my understanding, they telling on public to public too. It's not just public to
They
private.
are.
I agree. Yeah, I know a lot. Like I said, I've heard a lot of calling from there, so I do agree. I'm just saying, you're right. They do call public to public too, but like I said, private is. And they do get calls. They say that.
And that's why, Streets, we're doing this, right? If you're trying to move, we want you to have great information. So that's a reason for us having this conversation and giving you the rules, so you can be very clear that if you decide to make a move from public to private or public to public, you will have the information you need.
Right. And I didn't really have the information, to be honest with you, and I'm glad y'all doing this because I really didn't. I had some help. And so to kind of learn it because I really didn't know. If I probably knew what y'all doing now and I know now, I think the process would be a lot easier than what I went through. So I think that's part of it. So that's good that y'all are doing that. And everybody kind of follow the rules. But other than that, I just calling and get my
Appreciate the streets.
All right.
Go PA. All right. Somebody was trying to call. The only rule that I do have is that you can't call private ID. You got to let your number show. I won't call you back, but I don't answer no ID calls. Okay. So there was somebody that's called that didn't want their number. I don't answer numbers that don't have ID. If you want to call back, let your number go through. We can put you. I'll take 2 more calls. 2 more calls. If you have a question, let me put Miss Tanner on here. She said, yes. Head coaches and AD called AAA. Why, as a parent, we can't call AAA on the coaches and the AD for doing false reports?
I love it. I wish you could.
Yeah.
I wish you could.
Yes. Sheena McDaniels, coach only job is to win. Most really don't care about players. Coach only want what's best for the program, is what she's saying. I'm going back up and getting some comments. Jolanda Lane is saying transferring my son was the absolute best decision we made. Jolanda Lane said that.
For you and your family.
Crystal Stewart is replying to Kimberly. I don't know what she says, so I'm not going to put that up there. Listen, I mean, you've got maybe 2 more minutes. I'm going to leave it open. I'm going to put the phone call up there again. If you want to call and give your comments, I'm going to open it up. You got to let your number show. If you want to come and ask Chris Boyd a question, if you thinking about moving, now is the time. Now is the time to or forever hold your peace. Now, Chris, did you hear my rant against Nashville? I'm wasting time waiting on some people to call. Did you hear my live about my frustration with Nashville?
Yes. Before I go into that, Brian, I do want to point out, because I forgot to mention this earlier, and this is really important. A student athlete or any student can only do a school choice transfer one time.
Oh,
so you only do it one time. You get one shot. That is important
to know.
Okay, you get one shot.
You only can do it once.
Yeah.
Okay, so, that is important.
The short answer is I 100% heard you, and I agreed with 100% everything you said. It made me so mad last year, Brian. And I'm a pretty vocal and opinionated person. I made my feelings known on social media. And I invited Mr. Nichols to give me a call to talk about it too, because I could have shown him all kinds of pictures. Kinds of pictures from these girls playing basketball together in the 3rd grade, the 4th grade, the 5th grade. And if they want to talk about new players, I can say, well, Lindsey Johnson played soccer for 4 years.
Right.
She used to play basketball, but she started PA in kindergarten. So if they say, oh, well, she transferred in, she's a brand new player. Well, she was a brand new player, but she had been in PA her life. She'd just been playing soccer for 4 years. She hadn't touched a basketball in 4 years.
Yeah, Misty Wilson is saying, did Bunch call you? No, I have not received a call from Mr. Bunch, and I welcome that. I told him, because I think now what I did hear, since I've done that live, a couple of parents have reached out to me and said that Mr. Bunch did that with the same thing over at, he was frustrated with the kids over at the Queen.
D-Queen. I heard the same thing.
He had the same thing. He was pissed off because of the Loud twins went over there. Their dad was a coach, stepdad.
Their stepdad.
And I don't know, Chris, can you get more of a legit move than that?
You literally can't. The family moves, the stepdad accepts a job, and the daughters move. The whole family moves.
I got a call, Chris. Let me put it on here. All right, Unpacking the Baggage podcast. What's your name and where you calling from?
Jameer Streets.
Oh, Streets, your daddy called. What you saying? Y'all, what do you guys say, little Streets?
The best thing I ever did was move to PA.
Good. All right, Streets, thank you for calling. Let me get this call, baby. Thank you. All right. Okay, that's my other phone. All right. So listen, I've not heard but great things. Nobody has said in our comment box where Transferring was terrible. It was a bad thing. All of the comments that are down here, Kris, are saying, Kimberly Johnson is saying she wished she would have moved sooner. Jameer Street's dad and then the kid calling saying it's best thing she's ever did. You know, they did this school choice and bona fide move for a reason. You know, with this portal, that their transfer portal. All right, I've got one more, and I'm gonna take this. This is my last one. Here we go. All right. Unpacking the Baggage Podcast. What's your name and where you calling from? Are you there? Hello, are you there?
Yes, B-level, it's me. It's Lakeisha.
What up, Lakeisha? How you doing, baby?
I'm doing good. I had to call in because I want to inquire because these coaches keep calling. The school that my daughter transferred this year.
Okay.
The school knew she was transferred before she even transferred, before she even applied, before we did anything because of a Coach Hayden. That's not okay.
Yeah, no,
something needs to be done with that. We had to go through the act of Congress. And for an AD to tell me he got to come to my house to take pictures, that's totally unacceptable for me to be able to prove that my daughter is eligible to play ball because of a move that we made.
Well, let me just say this. That's another reason why we're doing it. I agree with you, Lakeisha. It's terrible when a coach, when an AD calls in and try to stop a kid from playing. Kris agrees with that too. That should never happen. If you guys are moving right, if you guys are not recruited, if you guys follow the rules, if you guys has a bona fide move, if you guys are using school choice, nobody should be able to call and get your kid. And so your kid had to sit out, correct? She didn't get to play until January?
Yeah, she didn't get to play till January.
And she...
all because of the foolishness that a coach wanted to do because he was losing one of his star players, which her transfer had nothing to do with that because she could have stayed there and started.
Yeah.
So it had nothing to do with that. And for her to be penalized, AAA need to do something about that.
Well, I agree. I don't know if that ever is going to happen, but I agree with you 100%. And thank you for calling.
And the coaches need to start getting penalized in the ABs.
I agree with that too, Lakeisha. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
All right. So, Kris, I think we've done our job. I think we've informed people. I think everybody agrees that a kid should be able to transfer if they follow the rules that are set up for by AAA, that a kid should be able to move, and coaches, ADs, parents should not be able to call and make a kid be punished, whether they have to sit out. That's just so unfortunate for children. They're so unfortunate for kids. And as I want to say to you, like I said to Cal, thank you for spending this evening with us, clarifying what's legal for AAA, so that if parents want to move their kids, they will have the right information to do that. So thank you again. Do you have any last words that you want to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, just real quick. What I will also say about the employees at the AAA, they have a handbook. That handbook changes every year. A lot of times people will look at an old handbook, or someone will give them information from the handbook 4 years ago. They're constantly trying to keep those up to date. I pointed out a lot of weird holes. They are in good faith trying to keep those rules up to date. They will, in good faith, Brian, if you are a parent, you have any type of a question, they will, in good faith, if you call them, because that handbook, Brian, it's this thick. Mm-hmm. And if I were to hand that to a parent and say, here's what will tell you where you're eligible or not, they won't know where to look. They won't know even how to read it. The AAA will, in good faith, if you call them as a parent and you say, here's what we're thinking about doing, they'll recite the rules, and they will tell you that in good faith. So I do commend them for that. So if a parent ever had any question, I would tell them, don't hesitate to just make that be your first call. Here's what we're thinking about doing. What are the current rules regarding this?
Good. Let me read a couple of these more comments. Kenneth Baker's is saying, we wasted our one school choice move, but oh well. Zach is saying that's why AAA makes people. That's what AAA makes people do. Lakeisha. He's saying it's crazy. Christy Sanders is saying from Nettleton to Greene County Tech, KP has blossomed. Let the kids choose where they want to be.
Great
Steve
program at
Jefferson.
Greene County Tech. Great coach, Jason
Yes.
Smith. Happy for you guys.
Steve Jefferson is saying AAA is not the problems. Rules change year to year. They do a great job making sure everyone knows the rules, is what Steve Jefferson is saying. So I didn't get away. Thanks again. And I hope that what we have done this evening helps someone who's considering on moving. And like Boyd said, if you have any question on if your kid is going to be eligible to play for sports, and like Kris said, kids go there for nursing programs. Sometimes they move for band. They should be able to move for sports as well.
100%. Any kid should be able to go wherever they want to go.
Yep. All right, last comment I'm going to read. I agree with Steve, but the school has to prove if someone breaks the rules, is what Zach Mitchell is saying. Okay. All right, Kris, thank you. Appreciate you for coming in, man. And go Lady Bruins.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, don't forget, we do this thing tomorrow night for you guys are tuning in on The Level with B-Level tomorrow. I am interviewing Tracy Johnson that's going to be on the platform. He is the owner of Club Trois and Taboo. We have this every Wednesday night, 7:30, where I have conversation with extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. So tomorrow night, 7:30, join the platform back. And then this Sunday, every Sunday, I have a great UTB podcast crew. Join us each and every Sunday night, 7 o'clock. I've got Little Rock Princess, Tristan Hobbs, Anthony P., Candy Webb, and Jada with the T. This platform is for us to entertain and inform. And that's what we did tonight. We informed you of the rules. Thank you. And we will see you tomorrow night, 7:30, same bat time, same bat channel. Hold the line, Kris Boyd. Don't go nowhere. I see you back there. Hold the line. I've got to do this countdown for 30 seconds, and then we'll chat. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow, 7:30. Good night.
Had another rough conversation.